The Drive-Thru is our monthly news episode and is sponsored in part by organizations like HPDEJunkie.com, CollectorCarGuide.net, Project Motoring, Garage Style Magazine, the Exotic Car Marketplace, and many others. If you are interested in becoming a sponsor of the Drive-Thru, look no further than www.motoringpodcast.net. Click About and then Advertising. Thank you again to everyone that supports the Motoring Podcast Network, Grand Touring Motorsports, our podcast Break Fix, and all the other services we provide.
It's time to begin. You weird Halloween music.
This is Halloween. This is Halloween.
Halloween, Halloween, this is Halloween. What's this? What's this? There's white stuff in the air. What's this?
Kidnapping Sandy Claus. Put him in a bag.
Laughing everywhere. Welcome to Drive-Thru episode number 50. This is our monthly recap where we put together a menu of automotive, motorsport, and random car adjacent news. Pull up the winner number one for some automotive news. Hello?
Hello? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I can't see you. I'm assuming you guys are holding off until the big costume reveal.
Well, we thought we would do the whole episode in darkness, right? And then we could sing.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
But I don't think our fans would enjoy the dark screen.
I don't know. I've got a face for dark screens.
All right, let's see it. This is awesome. Oh, my man.
By the way, I don't know where you got narwhal.
Isn't it a narwhal? It's like a unicorn. I don't know what the
No,
thing
it's
is.
just a unicorn.
It's just a unicorn.
For some reason, I had it in my head that you were a narwhal.
Maybe you wished I was a narwhal.
Whoa, look at Tanya. You ready for this? This is going to be like...
Eric, you're just you.
It's like burning my... I have to wear the sunglasses because I can't stand to look at the shirt. It's so freaking bright.
I wear my sunglasses at night so I can.
Watch you weave and breathe your storylines.
Oh my god, ew.
I thought it was keep track of visions in my head.
Well, that's like another verse.
Yeah.
This is the musical episode.
You are Eric Circuit 2022.
I'm bringing back the days of SRO, man. I am a yellow flag.
Tanya is a snowboarder who's trapped in Bloodborne. And I have a horn.
You're
I'm
a
horny.
narwhal. Meanwhile, back at the ranch. Last time we talked about the 5-0, but this is the big 5-0 for us. 50 drive-thru episodes. You know, there are podcasts out there that don't have 50 episodes, and we have 50 of just the drive-thru. That is astounding. It's Inception. What layer are we on? Because we are a podcast inside of the podcast, inside of the podcast, inside of the network. Good night.
What's more impressive, that we have 50 episodes of just the drive-thru, or that our listenership has not changed?
It hasn't gone down. It's gone up. So that's a good thing.
Adding one or two kids to the mix doesn't count for going up.
They keep listening to that D&D episode on repeat. You know, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Weirdos.
Speaking of on repeat, we have done some Halloween episodes in the past, tried to be all spooky and drive through haunted houses in Florida and stuff like that. You know, we gave it some thought and said, why don't we talk about topics that, I don't know if it's because of ChatGPT or because of our computers or Big Brother's always listening, but topics and stories that have come back to haunt us in the month of October. Right off the top, from last month, we were literally talking about Chrysler, where they were in the world. No sooner did the episode publish, and they're already saying, off with his head. I said, off with his head. So the CEO, his contract is up. Carlos, he's got open to work on his LinkedIn right now. You know, it's all good. I get it. But who wants this job? Who wants to be at the head of Stellantis right now?
Not that guy.
As I dug into this a little bit more, yeah, he's 66. You can make all the excuses about, I'm leaving for family reasons and this and that and the other.
Just go do something with your life.
Yeah, right. I noticed there's been a little bit of restructuring at Stellantis over the last couple of years. So if you kind of go back to when all this got started, and we did an episode way back in the drive-thru, we talked about the Stellantis family tree and who was connected to who and second cousins and all this kind of stuff going on. And now they got this new seal slide that they have on their website. And I actually dug into this to make sure it wasn't somebody just, rendering it themselves. And so they've actually kind of minimized the brands inside of Stellantis. What I discovered was Ferrari was spun off. It's now its own company. It's got a Dutch backing and it's kind of back in the hands of the Ferrari family and stuff like that. So they got out from underneath the talons of Fiat. So I thought that was pretty cool. And that kind of explains why things have changed so much at Ferrari, even recently with the introduction of the F80 and some of the other cars that Williams been talking about on his show. But I had to laugh when I saw the Lancia logo. Yeah, okay. What cars are they making? Forget that noise. But also surprising was seeing the Vauxhall logo under Stellantis. And I'm like, when did that happen?
That was a GM thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was like GM of UK. It's always been Vauxhall. And I'm like, wait, what? I find that kind of interesting because through Vauxhall, you've also got that weird relationship with Holden. So I'm wondering, like, what other interesting muscle cars might Dodge end up with in the future as things progress. And then finally, I also read an article talking about how they might, and I'm going to put big air quotes around might, sell off Maserati, which is something we've been angling at for a while now. It's like, well, what's the point? Who buys Maseratis? If they sell off Maserati, who would they sell it to? Ferrari got sold to a Dutch holding company. Does Maserati go to the Chinese, like a Lotus or something like that? It bothered me a bit, but interesting to see the logos that are on this slide.
Opel was surprising to me too, because they had ties to GM as well.
I've also heard some rumors about, is the Chrysler brand still going to be around? And so some of this stuff happens quietly in the background. Like Ford and GM pulling out of Australia was a big deal and everybody made us think about it. But Opel gets sold and it's sort of like if a tree falls in a forest.
In this country, who hears that tree? No one.
Yeah, nobody cares. Exactly. Coming back to haunt me, do you guys want to hear the latest in the Pacifica saga?
I was wondering if we were going to get back to like things that have come back to haunt us, like personally, because I was expecting to hear about the 924 and then the R32, and things like that.
As we were having the last drive through, I was talking about how the Pacifica went in for service. We were unsure if it was going to be the fourth transmission, all this kind of thing. And by the grace of whatever omnipotent being you believe in, it wasn't a transmission for a change. It was related to the hybrid. And it was like the heating system that keeps the batteries at whatever optimal temperature. Now, I will say we had a moment the other day. I turned the car on. It hadn't been plugged in. The battery was depleted and it threw up the big red wrench again. And it said service charging system. I'm like, did somebody try to charge the van when we weren't looking? Like, I'm not even parked in a place where there's electric chargers around. It hasn't been charged since last night. I did the IT crowd thing. I turned it off and I turned it back on again. All the errors went away and I kept driving and no issues there. But so far, so good. All of it was covered under warranty yet again. I can't throw too much hate at Chrysler because that MaxCare warranty, if you're going to buy a Stellantis product, ask for MaxCare.
So you had the van for how long?
We've had it since 2019.
And how much of that time has it spent in the shop?
If I tally it all up, I'd say 6 months out of 5 years it's been in the shop.
6 months.
More or less.
So it doesn't sound like it was 6 months out of 5 years. That's
It's a month every year.
That's a lot of time for your vehicle to be down. I've had my truck for 7 years. It's been down 1 day.
Yeah, but you drive a Toyota Tundra that has been made the same way forever. She's driving a space shuttle.
I understand. We've had our van for 1 year. It's been in the shop 0 days.
Yes, Toyota reliability. There's something to be said about it. But what I'm really interested in with the Pacifica is, I was thinking about it the other day when I was driving it. We are finally over 100,000 miles. I feel like it's a TMU car. And for those that don't know, the acronym TMU is True Mileage Unknown. Because when you're in electric mode, it is clocking miles, but those are body miles. So I don't know how many miles the engine has on it. When you sell a car, it's like, well, how many miles on it? You assume the engine and the body match. So if it has 100,000 miles, everything has 100,000 miles. But realistically, the way this thing operates, the motor doesn't run for a large portion of the time. And so I was like, how many miles does the van actually have? So I'm thinking it might have 60% of the miles, and that might be too much. I don't think it's 50-50, but I think it might be 60%. So let's just say the van only has 60,000 miles on the motor.
Which would make that stat of 6 months in the shop even worse.
I was waiting for you to go there.
Just saying. Speaking of Chrysler,
Oh boy.
remember,
They sold -1 vehicles last year.
yeah, but then they sold another Dodge Dart. First of all, why does a dealer have a brand new Dodge Dart sitting on their lot in the year of our Lord 2024?
See, this is why Lost and Found existed. Just when you thought they were all gone, you found another one, Brad.
It was hand delivered to me.
It's been sitting on the lot for 8 years. Who wants an 8-year-old brand new car that isn't a collector car?
I want to know what kind of loan the person got on this because they probably didn't walk in and pay cash. What do you think their payment is on this car? Is it like the Ford Escort? Is it like a $600 payment on a 30-year-old Ford Escort?
Well, as much as we joke about this, and we've talked about this before, it brings up a really interesting conversation about if a car sits on a dealership lot for, let's say, a year or 2 years, and in the case of Dodge Vipers and NSXs for like an eternity, how much does it depreciate just sitting there? Because the dealership can't ask sticker for a 2016 Dodge Dart, which was, let's say, it was $25,000 to just pick a round number. That was $25,000 in 2016. So with inflation, what is that now? Is that a $32,000 car? It's not worth $32,000
But at some point they hit a floor. I mean, my guess is they probably sold this car for 15.
for 15,000.
That's my guess.
Hmm.
Brand new 8-year-old car, but still zero, like very low miles. I'm sure nobody was test driving this thing.
So then that begs the question, if they were using it to, let's say, they got to run it eventually or take the battery out, I don't know, but you can't just let it sit there for 8 years and rot in the parking lot. Is it sold as used at that point because it's got some, let's say, demo miles on it?
It's not used, but it's probably sold as a demo. If it was never titled to anybody else, it wouldn't be used.
And what kind of warranty do you get on a brand new 8-year-old car? Like, how does that
Well, you
all
just
work?
told everybody on any Stellantis product, you get the Max Care warranty.
Oh, that's true.
They probably got the Max Care warranty thrown in.
Would you want a brand new Dodge Dart today?
I've never wanted a Dodge Dart, brand new or otherwise.
They're not that bad.
I mean, they're better than the Chrysler 200s.
Neon derivatives in some respects. Actually, the 200 and the Dodge Dart were Alfa Romeo. I forget what chassis they were built on, but I rode in a couple. They weren't that bad. They weren't that good either. But anyway, talking about topics that have come back to haunt us. Remember we were chatting a while ago about California and how they want to always keep up with the Joneses. Well, they wanted to keep up with European regulations to limit speed. They've actually passed their first bill in what I would assume is a series of bills yet to come. And I thought this ironic because the headline reads, How California Plans to Stop You from Speeding 10 Miles Over the Speed Limit. Isn't 1 mile over the limit speeding? Like, by the law, why did we have this, like, well, 55, but it's okay to do 65? Obviously, they're going to use GPS and electronics and all this stuff to limit you based on whatever the speed limit is. Just like your Garmin, it beeps at you, boop, 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 like we've talked about, right? But now it's law that it's going to come into effect in 2030 that vehicles are going to start having this type of nanny built into their electronic systems to limit you from speeding.
Yeah, but it's not limiting you. All it is flashing a warning on your dashboard telling you you've exceeded 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, which would have to mean that your dashboard's connected to GPS to know what the speed limit on a road is.
GPS and a front-facing camera is what this says here. But you know what's funny? My very first 2001 Volkswagen, you could set a speed limit warning for other drivers. And when anybody went over that speed limit, it would flash the dash. It doesn't match the speed limit, but whenever the car went over a certain number, it would let the driver know, hey, don't do this. So this is not new technology.
You can also turn it off, I think.
Yeah, obviously you can turn it off, but
It's really a law to institute a nanny that the manufacturers must comply with, but the rest of us can just ignore it and go about our merry way.
Well, the real question is, what does this lead to? It's almost like a gateway law. It's like you crack the door open on this, and now what does it become later? Because this isn't, who cares? It's like lane assist, where the car like shakes because it sensed you hit the paint line. It's like, okay, whatever, I can turn that off, keep going, drive on the line all I want.
the first sign is it notifies you. The next sign or the next step in this evolution of a
Notifies
law
your
is
insurance
it
company.
notifies your insurance company. It notifies law enforcement.
Yeah.
It notifies the manufacturers to void your warranty and this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden, nobody's driving.
That's the escalation. That's scary.
You guys took it to that extreme, and I see it the other way where, okay, this system is in the car, it's tested, it's vetted, It's somewhat accurate. It adjusts with the road that you're on and this and that. I've made the comment before. We go back to like episode 42, I think it was. We're talking about the levitating eggs. Enjoy going at the speed limit because legally all these self-driving vehicles are going to have to go at the posted speed limit because then it doesn't make sense. Auto driving Tesla run at 10 mile an hour over the speed limit. They're speeding regardless. What I think is going to happen is, to your point, Tanya, if this is a gateway, once it's tied into the MFI system and the MFI talks to the EFI, why inform the insurance company? Why notify the police? That's all extra work. And it's going to take too long to even enforce it because they got a dispatch and this and that. And
No, they don't have to dispatch, they just mail you a ticket.
that's just it. But what's to stop them from just slowing the car down? Especially
Nothing.
now that we have electric brakes, we have electric this and electric
No
that.
different than adaptive cruise control.
But you're insinuating that they actually care about safety when really, I don't think they care about safety. They care about revenue.
Yeah.
They care about the speeding ticket revenue. Insurance company care about their revenue because they have bottom lines that they got to adhere to. They've got a board of directors that they've got to line their pockets with, which is why our insurance costs are so high. I don't think they care about safety. I think they care about money. And this is a money generator.
So the insurance company thing is always interesting because it can be very divisive when you talk about insurance companies, there when you need it, canceled after you need it, all those kinds of things. I often wonder, it's in the insurance company's best interest for you not to get into an accident, not to speed, not to this, if you think about it, because basically they're sitting on their dirty criminal butts collecting money, playing in the stock market or whatever they do with it, right? The reality of the situation. It behooves them to make sure that you follow the laws and you never get into an accident, the cars drive themselves. But when you get to that point, who's liable, right? Well, we talked about that before with self-driving cars. Are you really driving? If the car is self-driving, it's implied in that statement that you are not driving. The car is driving itself. So what the hell's the point of insurance? Why am I paying for it? So it's an interesting game the further we look down this tunnel when we start talking about insurance.
This reminds me of one of the Top Gear specials where Jeremy Clarkson was driving the R35 GTR in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this was real or not. Again, it's television entertainment, but he was saying that he could not go over a certain speed, GPS, electronically controlled until he got to the racetrack. And then the GPS knew when the car was on the racetrack and it released that limiter.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of that was true, but I mean, it was part of the skit.
And see, that's where my head was going. I was thinking exactly that's what's going to happen on the roads where tried this trick in the 70s and 80s. We'll only make the gauge go to 85 so the car isn't faster than the 85, that kind of thing. But yes, with GPS, with electronics, with the MFIs talking to the EFIs, what's to stop them from just limiting the car to 55 miles an hour or whatever the speed limit is?
Then why are we even bothering building V8s and V6s and all this crap? Why don't we just make lighter weight, lower horsepower, more fuel efficient cars that only go the speed limit? Because I don't need a car that could do 120. There's no speed limit that's 120.
Except for that like one highway in Montana, right, where there is no speed limit. I totally agree with your point. The horsepower wars are still out there too. You've got the new Z06 Corvette is 1,000 horsepower. To do what? In America, it doesn't make sense. Now, places in Europe where they've even started to kind of climb back. I heard about the Autobahn, like, oh, we might be putting speed limits on the Autobahn because things are out of control. They started doing that in Italy on the Autostrada and other places where it's like, it's not unlimited anymore. I guess unless you're in the middle of the United Arab Emirates or something where they got those, massive highways that you could just go ballistically fast. What's the point? Go to the racetrack, like Brad's saying.
It's money. It's an ego thing. I'm going to pound my chest. I've got a Camaro that's faster than your Mustang kind of thing. Even though the speed limits on the roads that we drive on are exactly the same and we can't go over them, my car still makes more power.
As the 57,000 other ones that were made on the same assembly line that year. Okay.
It doesn't matter. My car is my car. My car is special. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me it's not about ego and it's not about money.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Everything comes down to money.
Well, this next one is right up Tanya's alley. We're still talking about nannies here. Cutting edge technology coming from Nissan. I love this. Nissan's latest driving assist feature encourages drivers to quit holding up the left lane.
I like it. Get the hell out. Move over.
On the East Coast, the slow lane is the left lane. I mean, I pass so many people in the right lane. It's not even funny. Just kind of trundling along. I've witnessed so many things like we talked about last episode, driving in and out of the city for the last couple of months. There's only so much space in the right lane.
So what does this do? Is this another like warning, warning, you dumbass slowpoke, get out of the left lane? Like, is that all it does?
So what I'm reading here is if the car in front of you is moving too slow, it'll suggest that you overtake them. And then you move over, and then the car will retake control from you because of their pro pilot, whatever. But if you're in that lane for too long and don't move back over, it will suggest, hey, maybe you should move back over to the other lane. So it'll suggest one move and then it'll suggest another.
This is so dumb. And what about that a-hole that merges on and shoots 4 lanes across and then parks in the left lane? Is it still going to give a warning?
What about the driver of a certain demographic that likes to make right turns from the left lane in the middle of the highway? You get to their exit.
Just like the speed limiter that California imposed, this can be turned off or ignored.
Of course it can.
What's the point?
To say they have it.
If it helps move someone out of the left lane, then I guess it's good. It's useless, but I don't know. Maybe it could change behavior.
So I don't usually read the comments, but this first comment here is pretty good.
They're amazing.
Hoping ProPilot 2.2 will have a mechanical robot arm that pops out of the headrest and smacks the driver on the side of the head after ignoring the suggestions.
Or the next one made me an electric cattle prod in the base of the seat.
No, it's going to be like that scene from Ghostbusters where every time he gets the card wrong, it zaps him.
Oh, man.
Thank you, Nissan, for the comic relief.
I thought this was going to be an article about an indicator warning you that your bumper is falling off because every Nissan seems to not have appropriate bumper mounting.
I feel like Tesla needs one of those, and we'll probably talk about that later, right, Eric?
Yes, we will. All jokes aside, this is what Nissan is devoting its attention to? They are so screwed.
Why? What do they need to devote their attention to? They make one car with different names. They've got it down lock. They're good. So they have time to devote to stuff like this.
If only that were true, maybe they wouldn't be in such trouble financially.
You think?
If they just went through and did a rebranding and everything was Altima based, but instead they've got these other vehicles and their profits are down 70% year over year.
Has anybody yet seen a 400Z on the road? I've yet to see one. I'm just saying.
No, but I see a lot of Frontiers these days. I'm sorry, Altima Sports.
Altima Sports.
Altima Sport Track.
Yeah.
There is a frightening number of Altimas on the road and old Sentras.
But none of them are new.
No.
Nobody's buying new Altimas. They're only buying used Altimas.
Well, I did see a new one on the road the other day, and I thought it was a Maxima, and then it passed us, and it said Ultima Platinum or something. I was like, wow, that is big. I was like, it's gotten huge. They could have just changed the badge on the back of the Maxima, too. So,
Oh, but they don't make the Maxima anymore.
the Maxima.
Oh, new Nissan Maxima 2025 revealed, so it's all crap. I thought they discontinued it.
Somebody go to Nissan's website and figure it out.
Car and Driver 2026 Nissan Maxima, what we know so far. We're not even 2025.
We reported on this. We went the hokey pokey on this. It is, it isn't, it isn't. And then there was a report that they got rid of the Maxima. Whatever. Who cares?
Well, apparently they're already talking about 2026, so things that come back to haunt us. The Maxima. It's a zombie.
Yeah, it is a zombie.
It's the zombie Altima.
All right, since we're naming Altimas, I got a new one for you guys. All of us saw this because we were all driving in together into the city. Traffic was stopped on the other side because we were going so slow and I couldn't help but not look. I said, I'll be damned if that isn't an Altima being drenched by firefighters because it was ablaze on the other side of the highway.
Poor thing.
Immediately, I turned to Jess and I said, so what do you call that one?
That's a Blastima.
Oh, that's better than what we came up with. Fire Baltima.
Baltima.
Fireball.
It's just a Baltima. Baltima in Baltimore.
Couldn't believe it. I was like, had to be an Altima. Of course it's an Altima because what else is there on
Because
the
they
road?
only make the Altima. Everything else is a figment of your imagination. The holographic projection off an Altima. It's only one car. There's only one car. That's why they can focus on whatever the hell that ProPilot thing was. I already forgot because it was that cool.
Complete trash. All right. Well, speaking of other enforcement, and last time we talked about our run-ins with the law. I am the law. Well, guess what? We had talked a bunch of drive-throughs ago about how people were speeding in the District of Columbia.
Good.
And the district has no way of enforcing the speeding
Crap.
tickets, the red light cameras, parking tickets, whatever, because all of these folks are out of state because the DC is DC. But most of the people that are infringing upon the laws are from Maryland and Virginia and other places.
But that's such bull. I'm sorry. You get a ticket in another state, you get the ticket and you have to pay it. So why is DC special?
No representation. That's why it's special.
Okay, because it's crap. You get a ticket in another state, you're paying that fine.
So that brings up an interesting point because obviously the DMV, Maryland, DC, Virginia, they're all very close to each other. And, there's a lot of interstate travel between the three. If I was a Maryland resident and I racked up a bunch of speeding tickets in Virginia, would those show up in the Maryland DMV system?
Yeah, there's reciprocity.
So that's the problem. DC doesn't have an agreement with Maryland or Virginia to have reciprocity for that to happen for whatever reason.
Because they're not a state. And so there's no interstate relationship there. Think about that.
They're not a state, but they still have a government. They have a mayor. They operate more like a city, I guess.
Let's not get into a discussion about DC mayors because
These things are surmountable. Okay?
Oh, I know. If they're high enough on your to-do list, they are.
if they can make Easy Pass work from Maine to Florida, I mean, come on, they can make this work too.
Yeah.
Let me put it in perspective. This is how bad it is in DC. There was basically a group that got together and added up all of the outstanding tickets that were owed to the DC Public Works from all of the out-of-state tickets that were issued. This number is staggering, folks. $889 million of unpaid tickets in the year 2022 alone.
Almost a billion.
1 billion.
You said a group got together and counted these. I'm picturing a group of like high school kids with little yellow slips sitting at a table, counting them like they're counting ballots. Yep, here's one. Here's one. Here's one. Oh, this one was paid. Up, here's one. Here's
I
one.
hope they had
Here's
some
one.
sort of scanning device that was just reading the numbers and
It was all Excel spreadsheets. But the point is, that is a staggering amount of money. But then it ties back into this California thing we were just talking about because they call it the STEER Act, Strengthening Traffic Enforcement, Education, and Responsibility Amendment Act of 2024. It's very long. So the STEER Act.
it's a clever name.
The punchline to all this is, and this is kind of at the far end of this. So anyone convicted of criminal and reckless aggravated driving, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, an intelligent speed assistance system will be installed in their vehicles by the DMV, which will automatically limit their speed that they can be traveled on the roads according to the STEER Act, yada, yada, yada. Again, to your point, Tanya, this California thing coming from Europe originally is a gateway to stuff like this happening.
So I don't mind in the sense of our laws are pathetic sometimes, that someone who drives under the influence of whatever it is can just go back out and get in their car. So if you wanted to institute some sort of restrictive device, well, first of all, they shouldn't be allowed to drive, but that's not how it works, apparently. I'd be for that kind of thing.
Weren't they blowing into those kazoos on their dashboard?
Well, there used to be those kind of interlocks where you have to do your own breathalyzer.
You can't drive them unless you blow the appropriate level. For this, you need to be convicted of criminal, reckless, and aggravated reckless driving. I don't think this is going to work because I don't think the people that are actually doing the reckless and aggravated reckless driving are going to be convicted for various reasons I care not to share on this podcast. But I feel like it could be seen as targeting and police abuse of power and yada, yada, yada. But anyway, I don't think this is going to be effective.
No.
Of course not. So that number of 889 million is going to continue to climb because people are going to wipe their butts with these tickets.
This goes back to we have all these asshats running around with the historic tags on their daily driver.
Oh, don't even get me started with
Okay,
that.
which I was observing yesterday. Within about 30 seconds, 2 cars had expired registration because one was August of 24 and the other one was like September of 24. But apparently, I guess maybe that's the new thing is let me just not pay my registration, which is supposed to contact your insurance, which is supposed to cancel you.
They don't contact your insurance if you don't have it. Look at Brad's face.
If you get a ticket and then you don't pay it, yeah, we don't have time to send the lien collector against you or whatever, right? Like the tax collector to come knock on your door and collect your thing. But it could tie into your insurance or even your registration.
Right.
And then when you go to renew, although maybe not registration renewal because people don't do that, and maybe not even insurance renewal because people probably don't renew that either and just keep driving on expired bullshit. But it's like you could tie it into those systems, and it's like, oh, when I go to renew, guess what? My unpaid tickets are showing up. You can't renew your stuff or your license or whatever else until all this stuff gets paid. Like, there has to be a mechanism for it that is possible in the year 2024 with artificial intelligence and computing power and all the crap that we have. There's no excuse for $1 billion in unpaid tickets. I don't understand how that gets unpaid. It's crap. It's all crap. No wonder people are like, fuck it, I'm gonna do 100 through DC because I have no penalty, no consequence.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
There's bad behavior. Well, duh.
So the moral to the story is, where's the best place to do 120 miles an hour with that V8 Camaro you were talking about?
Apparently through DC.
Yeah, I hope you've got spare wheels lying around, because as soon as you hit one of those potholes, you're replacing
And
it.
see, this $1 billion of revenue, where it should go into the transportation budget for repaving and structural improvements to the road.
You know what I think? I think the lobbyist for the Intelligent Speed Assistance System has gotten the ear of somebody high up in DC, and they're like, we've got a great idea. It's going to solve all your speeding ticket problems. We'll run the system and we'll install them, and you can pay us a fee to do it. But yeah, we'll get your speeding tickets paid for you, 10 cents on the dollar.
It's just like the conversation my wife and I have been having the last couple of weeks as we watch the guy who does the rounds in the morning changing the car batteries in the speed cameras. So you're like, how good are these batteries? How long do they last? Jokes about those things not actually working.
They're not always on because if you have radar, they go off. There used to be one. Occasionally it went off. Mostly didn't go off. And then they actually removed it. So I don't know what that was all about.
Because it didn't work because the batteries were dead. Well, Brad, we're talking about billions, and you were talking about roads in DC and how you would need a new set of wheels. Well, I got a call back. Hoonigan, you guys probably read in the news, they are in Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is restructuring, reorganization, trying to consolidate their debt. They have a projected total of $1.8 billion in debt, of which they declared 1.2 is resolvable. So there's still like 600 million on the table that they're dealing with. And I had to scratch my head. This is a pretty long video. The guy that breaks it down does a pretty good job. He actually goes through as much legal paperwork as he can find, stuff like that. But what I didn't know and now begin to appreciate is the Hoonigan that Ken Block started and built is not the Hoonigan of today, although the branding is the same. It's a umbrella for a larger company called Wheel Pros, which is backed by Clear Lake Capital and this and that. So for those of you that those names don't mean anything to you, the following names might mean something to you. Rotiform, American Racing, Fuel, TSW, Borbay, a bunch of other wheel companies. I think there's like 30 of them that are part of this conglomerate. And one more that hits close to home for you, Brad, they own Smittybilt. So the debt that Hoonigan has, because Wheel Pros took on the name and then restructured everything, they have almost $2 billion in debt that they're trying to figure out how to resolve. And more than likely, there's going to be 1,000 or more people that are basically going to be unemployed here pretty soon. So it was kind of funny when we were reading and talking about those articles about that exodus from Hoonigan within the year of Ken's death, where people are just, we're leaving Hoonigan, we're done, blah, blah, blah. What we didn't realize was all this other turmoil under the brand name that's been going on, I guess, for quite a bit now. Obviously, inside of this consolidated debt, it's not just wheel related stuff. It's also the factories that they've bought, the properties and the back taxes and the property taxes. And this is the problem with mergers and acquisitions. You take on that company, you take on all their baggage, you take on all their debt. And now their debt is your debt. Sort of like getting married, I guess. But in that respect, I almost want to divorce the Hoonigan name from the Wheel Pros thing to not tarnish the cool memories of Gymkhana and all that other stuff that we associate with Hoonigan. And this is really a Wheel Pros problem at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of wheels and calling back the triple article that had come out a bunch of months ago about Recaro and BBS in bankruptcy, well, Fanatec was also on the brink, and they got a parachute from Corsair, another IT company. They've been buying up all sorts of manufacturers. They make memory, they make chips, they make this, they make that. So they bought Fanatec. They've rescued Fanatec, and they're going to bring Fanatec back from shambles. I had a conversation with some guys in industry and I said, so what do you think about this? What do you think about Fanatec being bought by Corsair? I mean, Corsair is not like a bad brand name. I think the consensus right now, at least from what I can tell, and I don't necessarily disagree, is that the reason they were sort of falling apart is the quality had gotten worse. If you had any exposure to the newer Fanatec stuff, it wasn't as nice as it used to be. It wasn't as robust as it used to be because it got super popular. They had to cut corners, they had to make things cheaper, typical business stuff. So Corsair sweeps in at this point in their manufacturing life cycle. And so does Fanatec stay where it is, or does it slide back and become like a Logitech Thrustmaster where it's like, it's okay, it's not that great? In the sim world, there's still a ton of manufacturers out there. You start talking about Moza, and you start talking about Simicube, and you start talking about Asetek, and a bunch of them are still a little bit DIY in terms of fit and finish. So I'm really curious to see what happens. The ink is still pretty wet on this new deal here, but good to see that Fanatec didn't just get flushed down the tubes.
Yeah, I hope they go back to just making quality wheels in a limited quantity rather than trying to serve the masses and make a wheel for everybody. I mean, that's my big gripe with, not related, but with BMW. They used to make decent products, same with Mercedes. And then all of a sudden they started dumbing everything down to try and get a larger footprint.
Yep.
And ended up just watering down the entire brand. So just stick to what you're good at, make good shit. People will pay for it. Grow that way. Don't grow too fast, too quickly by cutting corners.
When I redid my rig, I invested in Moza, and a lot of people were like, I don't know, this and that. And Moza now, even guys like Jimmy Broadbent are using Moza. There's a lot of people that have Moza in their sims. And what's funny about it is when people actually mess with it and stop throwing shade because, there were Fanatec fanboys or whatever, they go, this reminds me of the old Fanatec stuff. Rumors what they are, that stuff was reverse engineered or whatever have you. It is really nice quality. It feels like stuff that comes out of a car, this and that. And what I thought was interesting is at the same time I'm reading this article about, Fanatec's back in business. They got all this money from Corsair to bail them out. Moza signing a deal with Lamborghini. Talk about an upward swing. To your point, Brad, what happens now? You start hitching your horse to these bigger wagons, and it's like, does it stay the same? Can they maintain the quality? Or are we going to see, future Moza products going down? So the auto sphere itself, it's business, right? These games are played over and over and over again. So be curious to see what happens in the next couple of years. But Sim is not dead by any stretch of the imagination. Not nearly the same fever or fire that there was during COVID, where like you couldn't keep the stuff in stock. That's the danger in why Fanatec ended up where it was too. The market got saturated and you're like, well, your gear's pretty good. It seems to last because, they built something tough. You're only going to replace it if it breaks. I wish some of the cars were like that though, but hey. All right, let's switch to Formula One. Let's talk about shenanigans. What is this nonsense? Verstappen is cutting his career short because of the whole cursing censorship thing.
All clickbait. He made comments of like, oh, I don't need to be here for this stuff, blah, blah, blah. But whatever. Anybody really believes he's just going to walk away?
No.
So there has been speculation that he may be out in a year or two anyway, just to go do something different, with all the regulation changes in the sport over the next couple of years.
Didn't he also say that there was like nothing else is worth it after F1? Wasn't he the one who said that? Where it's like, oh,
yeah, I do think
a
he
lesser
said that,
form
yeah.
of racing or something, and
Yeah.
be beneath him to do anything other than F1.
Possibly.
But I mean, if he wants to stop, that's it.
Breaking news. Ricardo just signed with another team.
No, he didn't.
Psych. That fool is out. Maybe Verstappen can join Ricciardo wherever he ends up next.
Doubtful. I don't think he's going anywhere. If anything, he sets himself up. If Red Bull's going down the toilet, he's got an excuse. Oh, I was leaving anyway. I don't know.
Said it before. I'd like to see Verstappen. I'd like to see Hamilton. I'd like to see some of the other guys do an Alonso and go to Indy or go to Le Mans or go to some of these other disciplines of racing. I don't think they're beneath them. I just think that the boys club of Formula One is what it is, and they don't have the same pull if they go somewhere else. They might actually have to drive. It's Adrian Newey's fault. That's all we know.
Which is probably where all the speculation of him retiring early is actually coming from.
Yeah.
The fact that he's not winning anymore.
And there's a whole bunch of drama around that too, with him going to Aston or whatever. I want to see how that plays out, but that really doesn't really matter until next year. But there's a couple other things that matter next year. We know Audi's coming, right? They're taking over Sauber, Stake, Alfa Romeo, whatever the hell that team is. I don't know. The rumor, not so rumor, is that Toyota is coming back, but they're partnering with Haas. You don't think this is the perfect exit strategy for Gene Haas to get out of this bleeding pig?
If that's true, then what's his deal? Because he could have handed it over to Andretti. So what's the drama there? He
That's
could have
very
gone from an
true.
American team to quote another American team, right?
Maybe his ego wouldn't let him.
Well, did anybody watch the Gunther Steiner expose where he says that him and Gene never got along to begin with and blah, 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 and all this BS?
I don't doubt it. If you ever watched, which you haven't, Netflix Drive to Survive,
Never gonna happen.
every time there was a problem in Haas, which was like
Every race.
he was on the phone getting like scolded by Gene. So I don't think the relationship was very good when every time Gene's sitting there watching the race and another of his cars has crashed millions of dollars later. Steiner's the one that's got to sit there and take that phone call. I'm pretty sure that relationship wasn't a good one.
Don't believe everything you watch on YouTube, even if it's from the person that was there. If you look back, this is not the first time Toyota has entered into Formula One. This was back in the early 2000s, back in the days when the US Grand Prix was at Indianapolis. You had drivers like Alan McNish, Olivier Panis, Jarno Trulli, Ralf Schumacher, all stars, right? I mean, sarcasm aside, Alan McNish went on to do great things for Audi at Le Mans, things like that. If you look at what Toyota did in the past, and I'm not saying they haven't advanced in 20 years. We know Toyotas can be reliable and they can be strong and they can be fast, especially in WEC and stuff like that. But if you chalk it up to what they did over those 5 years or so that they were in Formula One, they didn't amount to anything. It was a complete failure, which I'm actually kind of surprised Toyota is coming back after such a disgrace, to use the phrase losing face in front of the world on the Formula One stage. But I'm happy to see them come back. But on the same token, I keep saying Haas, what could go wrong? Do they really want that on their scorecard?
So interestingly, it says that the new agreement doesn't include Toyota returning as an engine supplier. So they'll be branded Toyota Gazoo Racing, will appear on the cars. They're going to provide design, technical, and manufacturing services, while Haas will provide technical expertise. What, I'm not sure.
Money.
But
That means money.
basically, it's a Toyota with Haas written on it.
Yes. Unlike a Honda with a Porsche crest on it. We'll leave that where it is. So yes, Toyota's coming back to Formula One. They're basically buying Haas is what going to be the result of this. And I see it as a tit for tat. Audi's coming, Toyota says we're coming back too. It's going to be an interesting 2025 Formula One season.
Oh, very weird.
I just don't know who's going to drive for Toyota.
Verstappen.
Daniela Ricciardo. Just did. He's back.
Ricardo and Mazepin.
Oh my God.
Don't they already have the drivers?
I'm sure they do. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with it.
Yeah, I think one of the new young kids, at least, I think is going to be a driver for Haas. And I'm not sure who the second driver is.
So memorable.
Oh, you know what it is? I think I saw this the other day. I think Ocon is going to.
Oh, come on. That's a recipe for disaster.
Well, he got kicked out of
Alpine.
yeah, so I think it's Ocon and then it's the new British kid, Bierman, Ollie. They'll be the Haas drivers because not Magnussen, because I think he's out, basically lost his seat.
Hulkenberg.
Hulkenberg, thank you. He's going to Audi.
Because we must have a German team with German drivers. Das ist gut.
I don't think they've named the second Audi driver yet, and I think there's been some rumors like
Schumacher.
his name has sort of surfaced again, but whether that actually comes to fruition or not, I don't know. I mean, there's a couple drivers that don't have seats, so to speak. Like, I don't know that Bottas or Zhou Guanyu have anywhere to go now that Sauber's dissolved. Does that mean they go to Audi?
Probably not.
But there's also a number of other young drivers I guess they could pick up.
Well, speaking of probably not, we got to switch gears and talk about a subject within the drive-through that just continues to haunt us. Once you think you have it under control, it's like a bad rash and it comes back and it scratches and it itches and it smells weird and it's pussy and it's gross.
It's overly dramatic. Is it really coming back to haunt you when it's par for the course that anytime Tesla says something's going to happen, it doesn't, according to their timeline? Like, I mean, it's not haunting at this point. It would be haunting if it actually delivered something they said according to a schedule.
So what are they delayed this time? Is it the semi truck? Because we know it's not the Cybertruck. That was rushed to production, as we've already established.
After major delays, it was rushed to production.
I don't even know what's been happening with the Tesla semi truck actually.
It doesn't matter.
But no, it's the Roadster.
The biggest Ponzi scheme in the Tesla Donation Foundation ever.
They need to generate those pre-orders so that they can fix the Cybertruck. They got to get the pre-orders in for the Roadster, and they can keep dragging that out for like 10 years.
The only thing I can say about the Roadster is I like the way it looks. And I noticed that too on the road the other day with the Teslas, minus the Cybertruck. The Teslas look better when they're self-driving away from you than they do coming head on. Like from the front, they're all like duck-billed platypuses. But the back of the Teslas are not bad looking at all. Like it's got a nice derriere, minus the Cybertruck.
Got a nice butthole.
Such childish nonsense, open butthole. Yeah, I mean, they look good from behind. I just wish they would fix the front. Now, I have seen a couple of the remodeled Model 3s on the road, but I'm not convinced. It's way too angular, and then they left the back the way it was. When I saw it for the first time in person, and there was a guy sitting at traffic lights, I was walking, so I was able to really kind of like absorb the look. At first glance, I was like, is that the new Prius? Because the Prius has that kind of angular with the drawn out lights. And then I went, oh no, that's the new Model 3. And so I don't know. They're doing something funny with the design there. It's better, but worse, but better. I don't know how to describe it. But the Roadster's cool. I got to bring this up. And I said we were going to do this. It was going to happen. We needed to stay tuned. We're talking rocket launchers. We're talking ridiculousness. We're talking explosions. Fall Guy level stupidity. Remember when I brought up our favorite internet idiot, Whistling Diesel, and how he was going to battle test a Cybertruck?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you guys watch the video? It's out.
Yes, I did.
I watched that video and the follow-up update about the trailer hitch.
Well, I didn't watch that. You have to tell me about it. But let's talk about the big battle test. It's a long video. It's like a half hour.
I've never watched anything from that guy other than maybe like 5 seconds. Is he the one that did like wagon wheels on a Charger or something?
Yes. He's also the one that took a hacksaw to a Ferrari.
Oh, yeah. So I've seen like 20 seconds. So I watched the whole thing though. It was very enlightening. And that's his shtick, right? Some of the tests were just ludicrous, meaningless. I'm like, okay, so you backed a vehicle off of a flatbed truck without lowering the flatbed. One of those vehicles has a completely flat underpan that's reinforced because of the batteries it's protecting. The other vehicle has an exposed drivetrain that you drop the weight of itself on and then ripped itself off the back of a metal plate. And then we're like shocked that the central drive axle broke.
but let's take that the other direction and say the Cybertruck split in half and then caught on fire, and you could look at the F-150 and go, well, the draft shaft was the only thing that got bent.
I was impressed that there wasn't, that we know of, structural damage to the batteries. Good on them that they made a really, really thick skid plate under there to protect them.
They make aftermarket skid plates that would fix that issue for people that
Yes.
off-road and stuff. For call it $1,500,
Protect the drive shaft.
protect the entire drivetrain, oil pan, engine, everything.
Yeah.
You can front to back skid plates, the diff. I mean, you can reinforce that stuff to where it would pass that stupid test if you had to.
So the ludicrous part is who's driving the vehicles in this manner? Like, it's an unrealistic test that really proves nothing,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, that doesn't tell me that the Cybertruck is more superior than an F-150. It's a dumb test. It does point out, like, okay, good. I feel good about the skid plate on that Tesla.
They abused the hell out of both of these trucks. Let's just talk about some of the other tests I thought were kind of interesting. I cringed with the Frunk thing. I can't believe he stuck his hand in
His
there.
fingers. Oh my God.
Oof.
I wanted to see the Ford version of that test. He didn't show it because the Ford most certainly would have cut off his fingers because it's mechanical. It's not, there's a manual. There's no electronic control. The hood is just the hood. You slam the hood, it closes.
Yeah, but the thing is, modern cars have been designed so that even if you were to close the door like on a kid's hand, the way it goes in and closes, there's that cavity, and the hoods are the same way. Yeah, an old like Pontiac Bonneville from the 70s would cut your fingers off, right? But new cars are actually kind of designed where it'll stop. But the Tesla, that frunk just kept closing because it's electronic and it was like, "Nyeh," and you could see him. I don't know how he didn't bust his hand because that looked way painful.
It was bleeding.
Yeah, it was awful. I was like, I would have done that with something else.
I would have done that with like a carrot.
An assistant.
Yeah, his assistant. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
A lot of the video was very Jackass to me.
Yes.
I've never seen Jackass, but yes. I know enough of it, but yes.
Well, nobody was stapling themselves to other selves and things like that. But
So the aha moments that lead to the end conclusion, I thought. So when they did,
the slamming of the doors.
okay, so they were. Well, we can give credit where credit's due if we want to start there. So the skid plate underneath is pretty strong. So his apocalyptic proclamations apparently seem to be accurate because they ignited C4 on the body panels and like they only dented.
Yeah.
Okay, the stainless steel is pretty strong.
To that point, Ford made the change a few years ago to aluminum body panels, but GM and Dodge, Toyota, and like other big truck, they still use steel body panels. So I think had it been another manufacturer, it may have been a different result. Ford is the one that went to aluminum.
It would be interesting to see what that same test would be on not that Ford truck.
Right.
What was the other one? The beating of the car on the glass.
When they brought out all the other YouTube jabronis, I thought that was stupid.
So even though he said, I do all the exact same tests on both the cars, they didn't do that one on the Ford truck. They didn't do the same beating.
They couldn't because the windows were already destroyed.
Whatever. They could have gotten another door and done it. We've seen other videos where, oh, you threw like a brick at a glass of like a Volkswagen and it didn't break. And they threw the brick at a glass of like a Cybertruck or something and it did break. So like, what's the story here?
Illusion.
So those were like the good things of it, I guess. Like, wow, I'm impressed. Now the horrific things, which was insane, was like the second thing they did. I don't even remember what it was. If they drove it off the side of the hill and then it got implanted in the mud, he used the Ford to tow it out. Or no, he got stuck. They pulled him out and then he went and repeated the same thing and ended up implanting the Ford or something. Oh, no. That's not when he did it. It was when he was doing that pothole test and they had those big, like 6-foot diameter.
Yeah, they drove over the cylinders.
And they drove the Ford up, beached itself basically, like it hit in between the wheels and then didn't have traction, it couldn't go. So they backed the Tesla up to pull it down, like off the ramp, off these things. And in doing so, they ripped the frame, like, you even can call it a frame, but it just ripped the rear end. And he was beside himself, and rightfully so, because it was like, how can you tow with this thing? It was held together like caca underneath. There was no reinforcement. It was like, it all goes downhill from there on build quality.
Yeah, and he said himself, he's like, it's rated for 10,000 pounds. He's like, this is just normal truck stuff. Truck pulling another truck that got stuck, like you're off-roading.
I don't know how it passed any of these towing tests if it couldn't even pull a truck off a ramp or whatever.
It's an aluminum frame, and it probably cracked during one of the other tests, and then that test just...
That's maybe fair.
But still, that's what the second video was about, because he received a lot of hate mail from Tesla fan people.
Cultists.
About, oh, the Ford's frame would crack in half, it would break in half, and the truck would destroy itself, and blah, 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 blah. So they did a repeated, like, they had an excavator lift the rear end of the Ford truck up,
Yeah.
and they dropped it on concrete bricks like 50 times. It did eventually bend the frame. They just dropped some real heavy concrete on top of it to straighten the frame back out. It never broke though. It just bent the frame and you could still drive the truck away. But again, this is another issue between steel, which, you know, in this particular test, the Ford has the steel and the Tesla has the aluminum.
Well, here's where I'd call bull crap on these people that got up in arms about it. He did the exact same stunts with both of them, and the Ford was able to tow the Tesla when it got stuck. So they both came off the back of that flatbed without pulling the ramp down. They both shot off the side of a thing. They both did the same things, and the Ford could still tow. It didn't rip its rear end out.
Exactly. And that's what the second video kind of was about. This is a very important lesson. Both trucks use a mixture of both types of materials in different ways. And I feel like the Ford used the appropriate materials in the appropriate places.
Right.
Much rather have a hole in my tailgate than
Yes.
my 10,000-pound load going down the road next to me because the hitch came.
Well, it wouldn't be going down the road next to you because the battery charging system was a complete farce, as we saw also in the
Oh,
video.
right. How much time did he spend at the charger?
Oh
on?
my goodness. And then how many times did it brick itself that he had issues and he's on the phone with Tesla support?
Well, I'm sure a lot of that was due to whatever sensors and whatnot going absolutely bonkers by the abuse that it was taking. It had no idea. It probably thought it was like upside down and, God knows where. So the other highlights, just go back to the build quality we've already heard about.
The tonneau cover. Oh my God.
The duct tape,
Oh my God. Yeah, the washers, the duct tape.
the fact that he could just pull trim pieces off because they were like hot glued on, basically. Like, there was
Yeah.
just glue holding all these trim pieces on. It was so hilarious when he rips like the fender off. And he's like, let me see if I can rip the fender of this Ford off. Oh, wait, I can't. It's one piece. Like,
And then when he slammed the doors and the interior came off,
that was
the
wild.
interior panels came apart.
That was
That is
wild.
not a test I would do to any car.
That's also like really aggressive because nobody's gonna slam their door that hard.
I don't know. I've been pretty mad. I've broken many a window regulator in a Mark IV Volkswagen from my anger.
So at the end of the day, again, we're talking about the hate. There's a second video now, all this kind of stuff. So we fast forward to the end. We talked about at the beginning with this drive shaft, and the Ford fails right away, but the fix was what, $700 or something with labor?
$900.
Yeah, to change the drive shaft. But at the end of all that abuse, Ford drove away, and the Cybertruck was brought in on a trailer, bricked. And I'd love to see what happened behind closed doors when they brought that Cybertruck into the Tesla facility, because
At some point, they did talk about the current repair bill for the Cybertruck, and I think it was like $15,000 or something like that.
that seems low.
No way.
But they also weren't done with it yet.
Although glue doesn't cost that much, so maybe duct tape and glue, you can get a lot of duct tape.
I just want to bring up one more thing. Gas pedal test. There was no rivets that was going to fix that problem.
That was also
Busted out
ludicrous
laughing.
and wildly aggressive.
That's what they mean, ludicrous mode.
It's like meaningless test.
It's not a meaningless test, though, because the Ford could take the abuse. That's what the point is.
But it doesn't need to take that abuse. On the one hand, it's not that Ford did anything special because pedal technology is how old? You know what I mean?
When your pedal assembly is made by Logitech,
And that's part of the criticism and the problem with Tesla to begin with, is they're trying to reinvent the wheel when if it ain't broke, you don't need to fix it just for the sake of fixing it. Things have been a certain way for a really long time because it just
well,
works.
they've been proven to work in that way.
Yeah.
And that's why I say Tesla is a software company, not a car company, even though they're making cars. I get that. You don't have to explain it to me. But the point is that thinking, that reinventing of a new way of doing something is very software minded. Instead of hitting Control P to print, you hit Control, lock, screen, upside down, triangle, and then bounce on your nose 3 times, and then it prints. Well, what was wrong with Control P?
The pedal design in the Ford is very robust. I would be curious if you did that same test in something, say, a Mini that has the pedal mounted to the floor. Would it hold up, or would
Yes.
it do the same thing
I
that Tesla
guarantee
did?
it'll hold up.
Probably, because it wouldn't be made out of cheap plastic.
Your mom has a Mini. You should go test this theory.
Yeah, let's go break Mom's Mini.
Make your own YouTube video and go test this.
Sam's got a Mini.
Yeah, go down the road to Sam's house.
Instead of watching the second Cybertruck Whistle and Diesel video, what I watched instead was Tanya's recommendation of Top Gear's James May reviewing and driving the Cybertruck for the first time.
Oh, do you mean his what was it, whiskey, or what was he selling?
James's
his gin.
gin.
Yeah, James Gin. His gin commercial.
Self-promotion, yeah.
He had nothing but positive
Praise.
things to say about the Cybertruck and this and that. It was very Top Gear-esque.
Well, I was surprised how positive it was.
Yeah.
Well, he's a bit of a techie kind of person.
Well, he also owns a Tesla now, so for him,
yeah, so
it's-
it was a bit biased.
It was, but it wasn't biased when he started talking about the panel gaps and the panel alignment and the finish. And it was just like, wow. The straight edge thing, right, Tanya?
Yeah, the ruler measuring.
But then he tried to say that they did that on purpose because of the glare and the angles and all that stuff. So he tried to play it off that it was done on purpose.
No, and then the hilarious part when he put the bottle on it the one time and then he put it on the same spot and then it would move and then it was like, what a joke. What a mess.
I didn't give too much credit to that.
No,
video.
because he didn't stress test it in any way. You know, that was a press car. He's driving around. He's just giving his opinion. Rah, 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 Tesla. Okay, fine, sure. So it was interesting to see like the other end of the pendulum swing. I didn't expect James to be so kind because he can be very direct. I would have expected a lot more if it was Jeremy Clarkson. He probably would have ripped it to shreds, not literally like Whistling Diesel did, but he would have had not so kind things to say about it. Then again, that's why he stopped doing the Grand Tour, right? He's not interested in electric vehicles. He doesn't want to talk about them. They're blah 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 blah. All the excuses that he gave for leaving. That's that. I just thought it was good to go back because we said we were going to watch it. I wanted to get your guys' opinion. This is the first time I've sat through a Whistle and Diesel video in its entirety, and I was hooked because I think what he did, it was truth. So we're still talking about Tesla.
Which would be haunting, I guess, if you had one of these pull up behind you with the red and blue flashing.
Right?
We're in California again, so there's a police department there that unveiled a Cybertruck cruiser. I don't think they're actually going to use it. It's more, I think, maybe just promotional type police vehicle, not one that's actually going to be used to actually go out and fight crime, so to speak.
Like the Wraith.
Nonetheless, Californians' taxpayer dollars went to getting this Cybertruck at their local precinct.
Outfitted as a police interceptor.
It's only being used for community outreach.
Yeah, because they're afraid if they got to do a pit maneuver in this thing, it's going to fall apart and crumple like a soda can.
Right? The risk to the officer would be quite high if they were involved in a high-speed chase that ended in a crash.
We've all seen those Florida Man videos and chases. I don't think you could do that with a Cybertruck.
You could do it with an Altima.
Yeah, damn right.
As we saw in the Whistling Diesel video, it'll get itself planted in mud. Don't go off-road with it. What was the other thing? He had to activate his subscription for the four-wheel, for the differential.
For the diff lock, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was insane. Ugh.
At least when you're being shot at after a drug bust goes bad, you're going to be protected.
That is true.
That is true.
They could use it as a riot vehicle, is what we learned. So,
Yes.
Riot with some very poor attempts to destroy it.
Well, that rounds out probably our longest showcase, but I don't think we're done with haunting topics as we go along here. But we are going to switch to our regularly scheduled ranting and raving and bring you some new stuff. Porsche, Audi, and Volkswagen redefining, literally reinventing the engine. I rank this 6-stroke right up there with the Wankel, also known as the rotary. All the RX-7 people know what I'm talking about. I watched this video. It was enlightening. And all I came away from it after half an hour was intake, compression, combustion, wicka, wicka, compression, combustion, exhaust. That's how it works. So it's got this weirdly spirograph system where it does a double compression combustion stroke. Supposedly, the benefits of a 2-stroke with the benefits of a 4-stroke, blah, 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 blah. And the punchline is, why is Porsche reinventing the wheel, or the engine in this case, when Europe is pushing to have all EVs by 2035 or whatever it is? So I think they're betting the farm on this new engine, has some really interesting techniques in it that would take advantage of the new synthetic fuels that they're creating. But if you are not into math and science, I don't recommend watching this video. But I found it fascinating because I'm a nerd, so that's that.
Why is he spending 5 minutes telling us how to say the word?
Oh, yeah. I was so turned off by that. I was like, who cares? But I do like how he ended it. He goes, this way I put to bed all of your comments about how I pronounce it, and we can move on with life. Thought that was pretty good. All right. So Asian domestic news. Honda is putting out their GR86 competitor, also known as Quaalude. I mean, the Prelude.
But isn't it going to be electric?
Isn't it going to be front-wheel drive?
Yeah, it's hybrid, front-wheel drive.
Isn't it going to be the size of an Accord?
Basically, it's going to be the replacement for the two-door Accord they used to make. That's what it looks like to me.
Thank you. I think you hit the nail right on the head.
it's just an Integra with the Honda badge instead.
Blasphemer.
But it's two-door.
It's a two-door Integra.
Integra. It's ugly.
which they used to make. That weird grill. What is that?
That's like the Prius thing.
No, when you said it's a CRZ, that's the front end of a CRZ. That
Yeah.
little weird nub nose.
No, but then it's got like a dual lip. It's got fish lips.
Like the new Ferraris, right? They have that kind of thing going on there. That's what they're
Yeah,
trying
but it
to
looks good on a Ferrari.
It doesn't look good on this. This is ugly.
Oh, it doesn't.
Whatever. I mean, Honda fans are going to go nuts. The Prelude is coming back. I mean, that Brian Schott will buy one right away, right? But I don't get it. If we do see one going down the road, we're going to be like, oh, that's nice.
You're not gonna know what it was.
No, you're not. And the thing is, you're never going to see one because who's buying two-door sports coupes anymore? Nobody. So I don't understand why Honda's even bothering with this. If you really want it to be something awesome, it shouldn't be an EV. It should have a manual. It should have the same power plant as the Honda Type R Civic. It should just be that with two doors. It should be a two-door Civic, but instead it's whatever this thing is. Moving on. Toyota. We haven't talked enough about Toyota, right, Tanya?
Nope. So they have revealed that they will be joining TC America Series
SRO, baby.
with their 2025 GR Corolla.
They're going to kick butt with this thing. It's going to be awesome.
Should be interesting.
This car is the hotness. I kind of wonder what the balance of performance is going to be like for this. As we know, Brad, BOP is all over SRO. This is going to be competing with the HPD Civics. This is going to be competing with the Hyundais, the smaller BMWs, all that kind of stuff in GT America Series. The GR 3-cylinder turbo, 300 horsepower, I think they're going to have to detune that because a lot of those cars are running under 300 horsepower in that class.
Or they would add weight.
They'd add weight. Yeah, exactly. It's exciting for next year to see the hatchbacks out there kicking butt in touring car.
So they haven't
Mhm.
said what the horsepower will be on the 2025s. They haven't unveiled that yet. The only thing they've said is they'll make 290 foot-pounds of torque.
Out of a 3-cylinder. Damn. I'd take one of these left over after a couple of years of being beat on the racetrack. I'm good with it. They're only 150,000 when they're used.
Yeah, and they haven't announced the pricing of it either, so we'll see what the production version comes
Yeah.
out to be. We know what the Marizzo version or whatever is like 50 grand.
Race cars open your wallet. I mean, there is
And
just
that's not even this
Yeah.
level because this is already, a step above that.
No, what you do is you find a sponsor.
well, this is not street legal. So yeah, so sponsor is 100% right. Still kind of in the camp of Asian domestic news. Remember when we used to do that wheel segment for a while there? It kind of popped its head up the other day because, as again, in the city, walking around, I get to see a bunch of different cars that just wouldn't normally see from the headquarters office, right? I had made a statement on a previous drive-through that all Hyundais and Kias, they have the ugliest wheels on the road, like full stop, right? They're just heinous looking. But I stumbled across what I didn't realize was basically the end of the line of the previous generation Hyundai Santa Fe. And so it's a Hyundai Santa Fe Sport. I looked at these wheels and I said, man, these are absolutely inspired. These are GTI quality wheels. I think they'd look really good on something else because that's a CUV, SUV, or whatever have you. But then I realized because that was the end of the Santa Fe line, I had to kind of take back my statement and say, okay, they do have a good looking wheel. They don't have the ugliest wheels, but now they have one of the ugliest SUVs on the road because the new Santa Fe is heinous. Have you guys seen this thing? I think they had like a basketball personality doing like this commercial, like, oh, he's got his brown Hyundai Santa Fe running around. It's very square and very digital looking, like very 80s, but the wheels are nice.
Yeah, the new Santa Fe reminds me a lot of the old Isuzu Axiom.
Ooh,
If you remember what those look like.
I do. Those were not nice either.
No, they look identical. You would see that meme of Jenna Fisher from The Office sitting in the boardroom saying it's the same vehicle.
Mhm.
It's the same picture.
It did send me down a little bit of a weird rabbit hole, kind of looking at Hyundais and trying to understand what car this was and the wheel package and all this kind of thing. Although I saw the badging on the back of the car, it didn't really dawn on me until I was yet again inside the configurator. As you guys remember, that was a fun experiment too. The Santa Fe had a 1.6 turbo for a while, then it had a 2-liter turbo. Now it's got a 2.5-liter turbo, and that exists on the new ugly one as well. I was like, wow, when did Hyundai step up their 4-cylinder? And when is that motor going to get dropped into more stuff? It's making 277 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torquems. And I know it didn't make our $50,000 Millennial Gray Challenge, but it doesn't come with all-wheel drive standard. It only comes with fun-wheel drive for all those 311 torquems. So that's not fun. If you do add all-wheel drive to a Santa Fe, going back to that list, it comes in around $40K. So it's another contender on our list of under 50K. What would you buy with almost 300 horsepower? I was like, that's not bad. So good job, Hyundai, for stepping up your four-cylinder game. Now put that in a Veloster.
Let's go.
Now for some random new EVs and concepts.
So, in the spirit of Halloween, apparently Rivian's feeling a little bit fun, and they have a software update that you can do for all the consoles inside that give you an option for 3 different themes. One being Kit theme from Knight Rider,
So cool.
another being the Back to the Future DeLorean interior theme.
Still cool.
And the third is the most Halloweeny one, I guess. It's this kind of bizarre, spooky-ish color haze thing that it does, and then this silhouette of like a Yeti going across your screens or whatever. That one was okay. But the Back to the Future one with the time all in the center console, like when you set the date and all that, like it was really cool. And even like, the old school Knight Rider, very Audi digital dash.
Yeah, it was. Oh my God. It was bringing memories back. I love it though. I think this is cool. This is the kind of stuff. If you're going to have screens in the car, give me these kinds of options and then put Mr. Feeney's voice in there.
Right.
Hello, Michael. That's pretty cool. Not that garbage we got from Volkswagen where it's like, make your 2024 GTI feel like a 1963 Beetle. Like, why? I don't care. That's lame. This is cool. This is what our generation wants. Now, I would like the L Cars version dashboard from Star Trek.
Star Trek.
That would be cool. With the sounds too, when you hit some beep, 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 beep. Switch it to Cardassian. Really cool Deep Space Nine action there.
I like Rivians.
Yeah, they're pretty neat.
I see a lot of them down here.
You see a lot of them if you see Amazon delivery trucks.
Well, speaking of seeing things, anybody been watching Emily in Paris? I know it's a stretch.
Not the latest season.
I haven't seen the latest season yet.
Okay. Well, I took a screenshot for you guys, and then we'll have it up on our website. I'm not giving any spoilers away. It's just sort of like a thing that they did on one of the episodes. There's this photo shoot. Everything happens in Paris and in Europe and whatever. So Debbie Mazar, who some of you might remember from Entourage. She was also Medusa in Chaos, if you watch that, and a bunch of other stuff. So she has a very 1930s look to her, right? Especially when she puts her hair up and they dress her up and all those kinds of things. So they did this very cool Inception commercial inside of the show, and because it's Paris, it was Renault, and it was shot in black and white. You always see those like Dior commercials are like this, where they're in black and white, and then something suddenly pops in color, and there you go. So she comes out, and there's all this paparazzi, and da-da-da-da-da. Boom! The only shot of color is a bright yellow, like my shirt, brand new Renault R5 EV. I stopped, I soaked it all in. I took a screenshot of it, as you guys can see. This is not just fire. This is hot fire. This thing is so cool. Please, Renault, make this car.
Make this car and only sell it in your country.
Stop. Why did you have to do that to me?
That way Eric can buy one in 25 years.
Because that's the reality that we live in.
I urge you guys, if you watch Emily in Paris and you get to that episode, it's towards the end of the season. Again, I don't want to give any spoilers away. Just rewind it, watch it again. I did that several times. It's really cool. This thing is really, really neat. And she gets in it and she drives away. So you get to see it from all the different angles. And I mean, obviously it's whisper quiet, but still just this modern retro R5 with big wide haunches and everything. It just looks really, really epic. Talking about more retro designs from Renault, last month we talked about their idea of calling back the R17, which there's a couple Datsuns that look like that, and the Saab Sonnet, and a bunch of other cars that have a similar shape to the R17. Well, as much as there was a big hullabaloo about it on the internet, Renault officially came out with a statement saying, for those who remember the R17, we've given you everything that you love. And for those who could care less, it's just a nice car. And what they mean by that statement, all kind of wrapped up in that sentiment, is that they're not going to make the R17. Again, the big question is, if that's your attitude with your retro cars, are you going to make the R5?
No.
Yeah, probably not.
Even says that they're going to move away from retro designs.
It's killing me. And by the way, the Alpine version of that R5 is freaking awesome too. And there's a couple new Alpines coming out, the 390 now. We talked about the 280 before that, and obviously the A110 GT is an awesome car, stuff like that. There's a lot of motion and commotion going on at Renault. And the funny part is Renault, parent company of Nissan, one of these things is not like the other. So Brad, lost and found, we got something on the pile here. This car speaks to me. What do we got?
First CNC Motorsport Sierra RS 500 was delivered.
Just look at that. That is 80s at its finest right there. So imagine, there's been a bunch of these, what do you want to call them? Tribute cars or Halo cars, whatever it is, like the whole Singer effect. Take an old car, do everything you could possibly ever imagine you could do with it with modern technology. We've seen this with Porsches, we've seen this with Lancias, we've seen this with other brands, and now there's a company, CNC Motorsport, getting into the Sierra RS 500S Cosworth, and this thing's awesome. Right down to the gold basket weave BBS wheels. I mean, what is there not to like?
I love the fact that it's got 575 horsepower from a 2-liter.
Yes, yes. Excellent. I didn't see a price, but I can only guess that it's six figures.
I found a price.
Uh-oh.
Prices for these cars start at 185 British pounds.
I knew it. It was $100,000 plus. Yikes. Tanya, would you buy one of these? Would you drive one of these?
I mean, would I buy one?
You don't buy anything, so would you drive one?
I mean, I would buy something else over this, but I would drive one if I had the opportunity.
So cool.
I'm not like in love with the aesthetics of it.
Seeing that article kind of drove me down a rabbit hole on YouTube, and I was watching a bunch of videos about Delta Integrales, and I was been doing some research for a rally project anyway, then Group A and all that stuff, and so many different versions of the Delta HF. Chris Harris bought an 8-valve, and Ben Collins bought a 16-valve turbo, and then he bought a Evo 1 and all this kind of thing. And you learning the differences between all the variants of the HF and stuff like that. I'm like, I would love to import one of those. If we didn't talk about them enough, we would be remiss.
You're going back to Tesla?
Yeah, we got one more article,
Oh my gosh.
and it's a bit the hokey pokey.
I don't even care or know what's real. I don't have a Cybertruck. I'm not trying to insure it with Geico. I'm never going to have a Cybertruck. I'm never going to try to insure it with Geico. So I honestly don't care if Geico wants to insure them or not.
And that's the problem we've been seeing a lot lately. And it's not just this article, it's other ones where, let's say, Jalopnik says one thing and then Motor One says the exact opposite. It's like on the same day. And you're like, wait, what? And in this case, how much do you trust things you read on Reddit? That article starts, Geico drops coverage for the Cybertrucks. And then on the other side, The Verge is saying, well, maybe not. Geico is not going to drop your Cybertruck. We're going to continue to cover it. I guess buyer beware. Do your homework first. Figure out how much it's going to cost to insure one of these things. And if they're going to cover it, I think there's still a lot of changes yet to come in the insurance world when it comes to EVs, because I think there was a lot of unexpected consequences with these cars, how long it takes to fix them, how expensive they are to fix them.
This isn't new. A few years ago, didn't Tesla come up with their own insurance policy for their cars because other insurance companies were having a hard time pricing insurance policies for other Tesla models? So this isn't something that's new. Geico is probably just the first to outright deny coverage. Then just go to Tesla. I mean, if Tesla has an insurance company that's going to insure it, then just do everything in the Tesla ecosystem. You buy the Tesla vehicle, you get the Tesla loan with the Tesla interest rate, you do the Tesla insurance, and you do the Tesla electricity.
It's the Apple model.
It's a software company model.
And it keeps the money flowing internal to
Tesla.
Oh, shocking how that works.
This reminds me of the old coal towns where they paid you in chips, and then you use those chips at the coal company owned store, and you lived in coal company owned housing. Yeah.
Robber barons. Is that what they were called? So anything else on the Tesla docket there, Tanya?
Well, for those who've been tracking and they're super interested, they recently unveiled earlier this month the Robotaxi and Robovan autonomous
Johnny Cab.
Speaking of which, they unveiled that and now are being sued by the Blade Runner movie.
Oh, brilliant. Did he call it Johnny Cab on stage? Is that why?
No, the production company is suing them, alleging that they created a lot of the stills and photos, basically generative AI taken from Blade Runner, essentially. So if you think it looks like something from Blade Runner, I think that's pretty intentional.
Well, that's unfortunate. Did you guys see this about how Fisker abandoned their headquarters and left it in complete disarray, allegedly with hazardous waste and clay models and a bunch of other stuff just laying strewn about?
Is that like when people get evicted out of their house and they're like, fuck you, I'm gonna take a sledgehammer to all my walls and I'm gonna shit in the middle of the floor. Bye.
Was all this stuff put on the front lawn?
I just want to know where all these Fisker Ocean people are going to get their EVs taken care of.
Tesla.
They're gonna take them to the scrapyard.
It's a shame. I mean, we've seen it before with Fisker where it's like, well, this and that and the other thing, and are they going to make it in the solar roof? And didn't they collapse once and then came back and all this kind of thing? They've had a bit of a storied past, but it's like, even when they came out with the Ocean, which is not a bad looking vehicle, it's just like you kind of look at it and go, they're not going to be here in 5 years. There's just no way. They just don't have the infrastructure. I was sort of hoping that they would have gotten swallowed up by somebody else.
They still have a website.
What is that costing them? $20?
You can save up to 24,000 on a My 2023 Fisker Ocean. Go get your Ocean right now. It's a $24,000 discount. All sales final.
Well, a little bit of racing. I don't even know where to put this, right? Is this lowered expectations? Possibly. We all know rich people going to do what rich people do. And Keanu, he knows Kung Fu. But did you know he knew how to drive?
I feel like this is not news. Race car drivers spin out in the middle of a race all the time. He didn't cause a collision. He didn't crash. He just spun out and re-entered the race surface and finished the race. I don't understand why this is. He's also 60 years old. Give the guy a fucking break.
But he's not the first Hollywood star to turn towards racing. Now we've got Frankie Muniz making his official announcement that he's in NASCAR. Now we have these Hollywood stars that I guess they're bored. They've done everything that they can do with the umpteen $1 trillion that they've made, and they're going to go racing. I mean, not uncommon. You've got the Paul Newmans of the world and the Steve McQueens.
The Tom Cruises, McDreamy.
A bunch of people that were from Hollywood have gone racing in the past.
Well, Frankie Muniz isn't necessarily a good example because he's been racing for like 20 years actually. And he's only like 38, so he's got into the racing scene pretty young. He's finally, I guess, going pro officially now.
Yeah.
He's been involved in motorsports for a long time, but I guess finally he's officially there. Keanu, I don't know, isn't he known for doing like motorcycle stuff?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not a stretch, I guess, to get into a car. Good for him. Maybe he is bored. I think it's more news just because it's Keanu.
It says professional auto racing debut. What makes this a professional auto racing debut?
He's an SRO. He's in the Toyota GR Cup.
Yeah, if I had enough money, I could go do SRO too. Would that make me a professional race car driver? No.
He's a bronze level driver like anybody else, right? Especially because of his age and his experience.
I feel like this is just, it's non-news. It's clickbait. It's kind of not worth reading.
Well, he's done a couple races since this too. So, I mean, obviously he's following the SRO schedule. So good for him. He knows Kung Fu and now he knows how to race. So good job, Keanu.
Tom Cruise was the last samurai.
Right. Since we're talking about rich people things, sponsored by Garage Style Magazine, because after all, what doesn't belong in your garage? How about some limited edition prints that are now up for grabs, signed by the man himself, Juan Fangio?
How many thousands of dollars do these cost?
So what it says here, they're in the hands of the guy that did these original prints and got them signed or whatever. I don't know how many he has. And this is over on Exotic Car Marketplace.
It was valued $500 10 years ago, so it's not $500 today.
So now they're $2,000, $3,000 each.
Okay, let's say it's 1,000. That's still Fangio put his Sharpie on it. That's history right there. So to get a signed print, now granted, it's going to cost you $500 to ship it from Australia. $500 for a piece of artwork signed by Fangio? That's not bad. Add that to your Christmas list. If you're interested in getting one of these, the contact information to reach Kevin Waite in Australia is at Exotic Car Marketplace. Just search for limited edition prints signed by Fangio. So other rich people things, and this is a spoiler alert for an upcoming episode. We sat down with David Beatty from Slot Mods Raceways, and he talks about his whole story about building custom slot car tracks and all the other things that he is into over at Slot Mods. And he's working with William Ross from the Exotic Car Marketplace to auction off a Hot Wheels track. You can get in on that for the low, low price of $25,000. $1,000. It's actually kind of cool. There's all sorts of pictures of it on the Exotic Car Marketplace website that you can check out. And I know that William and David are working on a project for next year, and there will be a track being built to be auctioned off for charity. And you'll be able to read more about that and more of its details on Exotic Car Marketplace as well. But if you haven't seen the work that Slot Mods has done, some of these tracks that they've built for Audi, that they've built for private collections, for Zach Brown of, McLaren, all these kinds of things that Dave goes into on the episode is pretty cool. I highly recommend people check out the video Painting Coconuts on YouTube, and you'll see David about 10 years ago or so. That video actually won a Clio award, and it's produced by Audi, and it has to do with the Quattro experience. And he built this really cool track for the debut of, at the time, the new A4 and the A7. So if you haven't seen that, check out Painting Coconuts on YouTube, and then you get more of an idea of what Slot Mods is all about, the quality of their work. And on top of that, William just did a behind the scenes facility tour of Slot Mods, and you get to see Dave, and he shows you the tracks that he's building and all the stuff that they're working on. There's some really, really cool stuff there. And so for me, reignited a passion about slot car racing. So if you're looking to have something commissioned to fill up a big empty space in your house and you're into racing, Slot Mods is definitely something you should check out. Speaking of big money, Zuckerberg and his Porsche.
I take exception to this being called a minivan.
It's more like a limousine.
I don't know what makes this a minivan other than it's long, because I don't think it shares the correct architectural qualities of it. Like a minivan doesn't have a sloping rear pillar. They're flat.
Right.
They're straight up and down, I mean to say, in the back. They don't slope down like this. Like you just stretched an SUV.
Yeah, it's a shooting brake with sliding doors.
Sliding doors equal minivan.
Basically, that's what they're saying.
So a Yukon XL that has 4 rows.
Yes.
And if I put sliding doors on it, I could call that a minivan and not
Yes.
a rolling house.
Yes. Sliding
Okay.
doors equal minivan.
That's it. So I could put sliding doors on a Volkswagen Beetle and it would be a minivan.
But you would have to extend said Beetle to accommodate sliding doors, because your sliding doors cannot be your front doors. They are rear sliding doors in the place of standard opening rear doors.
So I can take a Mini Cooper,
How are we even arguing this?
because I think this is the dumbest thing.
Brad, is that a van?
No, it's an abomination.
Is a Camaro a hatchback?
It's a liftback. That's a whole nother. Yeah, okay, I get your point. Yes.
Who gives a shit?
But hey, she was happy, so I guess that's all that counts.
Apparently, it fits a 7-foot statue that he commissioned in the likeness of his wife.
Is that why he needed to transport that statue home? So he had to build a longer
No,
tie-in?
I don't think that's it. I think those are two independent
It's for
stories.
his army of Zucks.
Yeah, Zuck Army.
Rich people things, baby. Rich people things.
Good for him.
Well, it's time we go down south. Talk about alligators and beer.
Couldn't really find any stories, but there is apparently a new HBO show out that premiered just a couple days ago, October 18th. It's called It's Florida, Man.
Oh, God.
And so it's different than like the Netflix Florida Man.
Which I enjoyed.
So I think it's less episodic. It's apparently it's going to have like a slew of cameos of different well-known people coming in
Floridians?
and out. And apparently it's part documentary, part dramedy, part whatever. So I don't know what this is exactly. I haven't checked it out yet, but apparently there's episodes available on HBO.
All right, it's time to watch It's Florida, man.
It's Florida, man.
Well, it's time we go quickly behind the pit wall and talk about motorsports news. So we talked all about Formula One earlier, but there is a little bit of shakeup in the IndyCar world. I hear there's a new racetrack coming. Indy cars are not going to COTA, but they might be going to Arlington, Texas's street course.
Sure.
So if you guys watch the video that we've attached in the show notes, basically what I tell from this very poorly Xbox 360 graphic video that they did, you're driving around the Dallas Cowboys stadium, and at the end it says, coming March 2026.
Sure.
Yeah, so we're still like 2 years away, year and a half away from whatever this racetrack is. It looks like every other street course, kind of tight and long straightaways and slow down so the crowd can see the cars and then speed away and slow down and see the cars.
Does Indy do a lot of street courses?
They do more than anybody, I think.
Really?
Yeah, there's still all the Memphis and St. Petersburg and Detroit and all that stuff. They're all street courses.
The IMSA does all of those as well.
Similar ones, yeah. But I don't know why anybody would want to do city courses anymore. I mean, it makes life miserable for everybody. It's hard to get any good seating because there's so many crash barriers and gates and all that kind of stuff. It's just, I don't know. When we went to Memphis a couple of years ago, I was like, that's cool. You couldn't get to all sections of the track because of the way the roads were blocked off. And unless you lived in one of the buildings, which you were either trapped in or you had the best vantage point of the race. It was kind of weird. So for me, city courses, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's fun. I'll watch it on TV. I promised you guys I wouldn't talk about rally because we got a whole rally special coming. Spoiler! And we mentioned Hoonigan earlier. Leah Block's WRC Subaru debut. Not so good.
No, I think her day ended when she ended up sideways wedged in between two trees. Oopsies.
She was just trying to get on the Zach Galifianakis show.
She's trying, poor thing. I mean,
it's rally. Shit happens, right?
100%. I mean, it's just it. It's not if, it's when stuff happens in rally. Rally is so unpredictable. It's so risky and dangerous. But to be at the front, you got to be fast and you got to be able to push. But yeah, I saw that picture and I was like, damn, girl, like that sucks. Hopefully she dusts herself off and gets back on the horse and keeps at it. Interesting though, with all the hullabaloo, this is why I bring it up, with Audi, she's driving a Subaru. She's not driving an Audi. I don't get it. I don't understand, right? That whole thing was really strange. We speculated talking about ghosts of the past coming back to haunt us. Was that got to fulfill the contract? All those legendary Michel Mouton and Leah Block and this and that. And then here we go. She's driving a Subaru. And it's like, I don't understand, but maybe it's not our place too.
Mm.
Oh, and I mentioned virtual stuff earlier. Jimmy Broadbent did a 2.5 hour review of Test Drive Silver Crown, which I don't recommend watching. The TLDR, the too long didn't read, is I might still buy it anyways. Our motorsports news is brought to us in partnership with the International Motor Racing Research Center. The only events left on the schedule for the center are the 8th annual Michael R. Argetsinger Symposium on November the 1st and 2nd at Watkins Glen. Tanya and I will be there. We will be live streaming the event for anybody that wants to really geek out on motorsports history. Lots of really cool stuff. You can check out the schedule right now by going to racingarchives.org, click on news and events, Argetsinger Symposium, and you'll see all the presenters. You're going to see the project that I helped work on with Professor Summers, the motoring historian. That's going to be featured in one of the days. And then keynote speaker this year, Lynn St. James, is coming back. So we're delighted to have her coming on and be able to live stream her keynote. If you want to tune in, you can't come to the Glen, twitch.tv/Grand Touring Motorsports. Follow us now. That way you'll get an alert when we go live and you can just tune in and watch the whole program for 2 days plus. And by the way, just so you know, Corvette sweepstakes are back. They are running through next year. You can enter now to win a chance to come home with a 2024 Corvette Z06 with the Z07 package. Details are on racingarchives.org. Click on sweepstakes in the top right corner. If you don't want the Corvette, that's fine. There's always a cash option. But remember that all the proceeds from the sweepstakes go to benefit the continued operation of the center, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization.
And as a reminder, you can find tons of upcoming local shows and events at the ultimate reference for car enthusiasts, collectorcarguide.net.
We all have the power to spark change, and this October you can too by simply getting that old or unwanted vehicle off your hands. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul in Buffalo, New York is participating in Cartober, a special event during the month of October to turn your old or unused car, truck, motorcycle, or boat into proceeds that go directly to helping neighbors in need in our community. The best part? There's no cost to you. Cars will pick up your vehicle for free and provide you with the paperwork for a tax deduction. You can learn more at svdpwny.org.
Remember, you can check out all the local happenings, motorsports events ranging from autocross, track days, karting, etc. at club.gtmotorsports.org/events. We also promote national events on gtmotorsports.org's calendar as part of our magazine, and we are open to advertising and promoting your events too. So feel free to reach out to us if you got something that you need to get out there and get it featured in our magazine and get it featured on our website. And just because it's the end of October doesn't mean that the racing season is over. If you want to get out there and turn some GPS unlimited, no speed restriction laps out on track with your favorite vehicle in a safe and controlled manner, look no further than hpdjunkie.com for an up-to-date list of high-performance driver's education events from all across North America. You can filter by location and find the perfect HPD event for you at hpdjunkie.com.
Do you love garage sales? Do you need to stock up on equipment for next season? Project Motoring has some clearance items like undergarments and 2024 production belts, good for 5 years. And you can check it out at projectmotoring.com/collections/garage-sale. We also want to remind people, if you're looking for that extra special something to make your garage, office, den, or man cave just a little bit extra, be sure to check out GarageStyleMagazine.com for a list of upcoming auctions and events, along with a curated list of items going up for sale all over the country, so that you can make your space unique or round out a collection. Because after all, what doesn't belong in your garage?
We just crested 400 episodes of Break Fix while you've been listening to this episode.
Wait, let's pause right there for a second. 400. 400 for large. Can you believe that? Pat yourselves on the back. 400 episodes of Break Fix. That's pretty damn awesome.
Woo!
Good job.
Meanwhile,
We've expanded our catalog as part of the Motoring Podcast Network, where you can enjoy programs like What Should I Buy?, The Ferrari Marketplace, The Motoring Historian, Evening with a Legend, The History of Motorsports, Break Fix, and of course, The Drive-Thru. And if you're not listening to this via your favorite podcast app, search for Break/Fix or Gran No D Touring everywhere you download, stream, or listen. And be sure to check out www.motoringpodcast.net for more details on all these programs and the services we provide.
Did you know you can sign up for our Patreon for free? Lots of great extras and bonuses even on the free tier. But if you'd like to become a Break Fix VIP, jump over to patreon.com/GT Motorsports and learn about our different tiers. Check out our newsletter, join our Discord, or become a member of the GTM Clubhouse by signing up at club.gtmotorsports.org. Drop us a line on social media or visit our Facebook group and leave us a comment. Tell us what you like and send us ideas for future episodes. Click the Join for Free blue button in the middle of the page when you visit patreon.com/GT Motorsports. It's just that simple.
that's right, Brad. And, we're consolidating a lot more things onto our Patreons, and we have a goal to exceed triple digits on our Patreon. So if you haven't gone over there, go over to patreon.com/GT Motorsports, click on that blue button, just like Brad said, help us get our numbers over 100. That way it keeps us motivated to continue to consolidate, do these things, and not fill your inbox with a bunch of newsletters you don't want to read. You can get those notifications through Patreon. You can check out special things, extra things, bonus articles, all sorts of really cool stuff that we're able to offer through that platform that it's much more difficult to do in other ways.
And remember, for everything we talked about on this episode and more, be sure to check out the follow-on article and show notes available at gtmotorsports.org.
And as always, we would like to thank our co-host and executive producer, Tanya, for putting together yet another amazing episode, and 50 of them to boot.
Tanya's the only person on the network that doesn't have her own episode. She doesn't have a Road to Success episode. She doesn't have a bio. We got to fix this next year.
We got to fix this now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay,
All right.
so-
Buckle down, folks. Here it comes.
Here we go. 30 seconds extra of this episode. We'll wrap this up.
I was born, I bought a car, and then I died.
And it's still been in the shop less times than Eric's minivan.
Oh,
So thank you, Tanya. Great job. And to all the fans, friends, and family who support GTM, including Chrysler and the Motoring Podcast Network. Without you, none of this would be possible. Outro.
so who wants to reveal first?
Oh no, he didn't dress up.
Where's your unicorn narwhal rainbow outfit?
I have mine here, but I haven't put it on yet because I didn't have time after bedtime.
You could just put the top part on, like just put it over your head.
I could.
Wear it like a cape, because nobody can see you from the chin down anyway.
Well, I'm not wearing pants now anyway. So
Oh, you're doing the Dan Rather thing.
yes, the burgundy.
I mean, my costume's not that impressive, but
Hold on, let me put mine on.
Your pants or your costume? He's going to be so hot.
well, not if he does it like you said, like a cape.
It's so hot right now.
Hansel is so hot right now.
To your point, it is burning up in this thing
I told you
already.
we were gonna
I've
be
had it on
hot.
for 30 seconds. So hot right now.
I told you were gonna sweat in that thing, man.
I need to turn. Let me turn my air on. Wearing it this way, I can't button it.
Your pants or your costume?
I told you, no pants.
Can you tell me the difference between a unicorn and a narwhal?
Yeah, one's
One
a
swims
horse.
in the sea and one doesn't exist.
One's a horse.
Yeah, one is of the horse variety. The other is of the whale variety. They are both mammals, though, so you are correct in that sense. I'm a narwhal that looks an awful lot like a unicorn.
Well, on that bombshell.
¿Dónde están mis pantalones?
Well, here we are in the drive-through line. Me and her, cars in front of us, cars in back of us, all just waiting to order. There's some idiot in a Volvo with his bright sun behind me. I lean out the window and scream, hey, what you trying to do, blind me? My wife says maybe we should park.
We hope you enjoyed another awesome episode of Break Fix Podcast, brought to you by Grand Touring Motorsports. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or get involved, be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Grand Touring Motorsports. And if you'd like to learn more about the content of this episode, be sure to check out the follow-on article at gtmotorsports.org. We remain a commercial-free and no annual fees organization through our sponsors, but also through the generous support of our fans, families, and friends through Patreon. For as little as $2.50 a month, you can get access to more behind-the-scenes action, additional pit stop minisodes, and other VIP goodies, as well as keeping our team of creators fed on their strict diet of Fig Newtons, gummy bears, and Monster. So consider signing up for Patreon today at www.patreon.com/GT Motorsports. And remember, without you, none of this would be possible.